On this week's program, BDubs returns by metaphorically taking a dump on an allegorical cave. DM James and friends fail on alignment. JJ shirts the bed on the latest WotC stupidity. Two classics return as we trade gold for the experience of fudging dice. And BookTube has entered the chat. Greetings, gentle watchers, from all of us here at Driving and Dragons. I'm Daniel, and by all of us, I mean me. The OGGM's wheel of irrelevant TTRPG debates spun right off its stand this week and crashed straight into intelligence as a dump stat. We actually have a fair amount to cover this week, so here's the Reader's Digest version of the housekeeping. Like, share, subscribe, and hype buttons. Push them. Patreon, super thanks, memberships, support the channel. Cool cars, I'd love to give you one. Thanks to all my members and patrons, you have a special place of gratitude in my prayers. Let's do this. We open up with the return of the clown-shoed prince of the Bro SR, BDubs, heir apparent to Jeffro Johnson, at least in the department of being more of a detriment than an asset to the hobby. He ironically quoted a post about how people reference Plato's allegory of the cave without understanding it any more so than is necessary to feel superior to others, while missing out on the part where the one who has seen the light is supposed to return to the cave and lead others out. This is, of course, the ever-conceited BDubs, not only proving the point, but putting the central failure of his entire gaming philosophy on full display. Jeffro did this, and was reviled. It's rarely worth it to bring truth to the normies. What BDubs fails to realize is that he and those bros like him are the opposite. They're in the cave, staring at the wall, laughing at people in the sunshine, telling them that they are idiots for not being elite enough to return to staring at shadows on the wall. Though he does highlight the part of the allegory that does apply to the louder contingent of the Bro SR. When you return to the cave to lead others out, there are loud idiots who will almost violently assist. They'll insist that the shadows are all that there is. BDubs has never been able to grasp that the Bro SR, at least the segment of the group that is vocal online, aren't hated because of how they play. They're hated because of how they act, which is like jackasses. Every bit as much as the chess pigeon, good old Stephen Saunders. DM James live streamed himself putting his foot in his mouth. I'll link the 3-hour affair above, but the relevant part is pretty early on. Same old, same old. Alignment isn't absolutely necessary and therefore is bad. And I clearly don't understand it. James is a good dude largely, but when your stream includes takes like, most people are chaotic good, followed by a description that is closer to neutral evil, kind of proves that you should avoid speaking on the topic. I'm going to lay this out for you. Most people are neutral. It's actually why it's called neutral. It is the balance point between highly ethical or moral and highly unethical or immoral. It is, by its very nature, the peak of the bell curve. Comparative alignment, that is, how we would define the moral and ethical objectives in order to analyze a real-world population, is built off of a barometer of distance from neutral. And that's about the only way it can work. You can then compare different groups against itself in different time periods in order to kind of track their moral and ethical drift. Now, in terms of game alignment, where there is an objectively defined moral and ethical absolute outside of the developing cultures and the people themselves, there are two ways to see it. Take good and evil. You can put them on a scale from the absolute self-serving to the absolute altruist. Then choose how you wish to define the population's alignment. It can be neutral is the center of the bell curve regardless of how far on one side or the other it is. Or it can be neutral is the objective dead center, and the people are then plotted against it on the graph. The latter is very useful for plotting out good and evil races. The former is great for establishing alignment norms during the world building process, as alignment may be objectively defined in-game, but that definition can be different from one game world to the next. It simply needs to be consistent in the game. The long and short here is that DM James gets to join the names on my ever-growing list titled, Show Me a Person Who Thinks Alignment is Awful, and I'll show you someone who doesn't know how it's supposed to work. J.J. Shurte is a name I'm not familiar with. Apparently, he is a writer of post-apocalyptic fiction of some kind. Whoever he is, he chose to open mouth insert foot on the first of our thoroughly beaten dead horses for the week. Combat wheelchairs. Quick backstory is that they're in their quest to piss on the graves of every founder and violate every revered classic. Woke Tards of the Coast revised Keep on the Borderlands for the 2024 starter set and doubled down on all the stupid shit that they've done with D&D since Critical Role Campaign 1 first aired. Specifically, one of the characters, either a pre-gen or a powerful NPC or something, I don't remember, is a wheelchair-bound cleric complete with very bad digital art. That's right, combat wheelchairs and all their infinite stupidity are back. Well, old JJ spits out, why would there be handicapped people in the fantasy setting? Same reason there's homeless, orphans, insane, etc., 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 the world isn't fair, etc., etc., etc. Once again, one of these representation idiots is completely missing two key points. First, magical healing would make a disability a non-issue in high magic settings. Second, if the world is a lower magic setting, such healing is a rare ability of the truly powerful, then nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, is taking a cripple into their adventuring party. I'm going to add a third point people miss. Wheelchairs require ball bearings for them to be in any way practical for self-propulsion, even over hard, flat surfaces. The earliest mechanical design to include ball bearings was Da Vinci's helicopter, and that was, of course, largely impossible with the materials available at the time. Later, you start to see bearings appear in the 1700s as one of the driving forces of the Industrial Revolution, with the initial patent, I believe, was 1774. None of this is analogous with a fantasy setting. The technology doesn't exist to make a practical wheelchair for everyday use without assistance, let alone one that could be used over rough terrain or in combat. And don't even try to give me that bullshit, what about magic line. If magic is common enough that it can be used at scale to create ball bearings for specific specialized wheelchairs, it's common enough that the healing of the disability would render the wheelchair's existence moot. It would never be invented. So yeah, JJ, keep your idiotic representation arguments over there in post-apocalyptic, no one has ever heard of me land. Two other classics from the wheel of irrelevant TTRPG topics return this week: Gold for XP and Dice Fudging. I'm not going to call out specific individuals here, at least on the Gold for XP topic, because it's a lot of people making the same tired mistakes. It boils down to a general misunderstanding of how it works. I'm not a fan of Gold for XP. I prefer either straight milestone leveling or calculating the XP of an adventure, assigning tiers based on level of success, and awarding bulk XP based on that level of success upon completion. However, things like it's tying two rewards together, it encourages unrealistic behavior, these don't really hold water and they kind of need to go away. Some of my favorite XP related comments were, "This is anti-player behavior. I hate killing for XP. It makes murder hobos." And if you're messing with XP, you're probably trying to encourage behavior. Why not just tell them the behavior you want? The first is just modern gamer participation trophy nonsense. Yeah, it's anti-player to not give them everything they want all the time. Having costs is anti-player. Same as not having a major artifacts section in the local magic item shop in a poor village of 16 people. Miss me with that. Killing for XP encourages murder hobos? Sure, if you do it wrong and treat it like a video game. XP isn't awarded just for killing things, it's awarded for defeating enemies. Stabbing the local beggar and beating down the town drunk, they just don't qualify. As for the last, oh, you poor, naive, lost little lamb. Telling players what you want them to do in a game is often the first ingredient for the recipe of them doing the exact opposite. We naturally operate on reward structures. Carrot or the stick. If you don't have one or the other, you're going to get minimal cooperation. As for dice fudging, the bad takes come from two sources that I will name. Dunder Moose and the still rotting corpse of Nerd Cognito. Dunder said that solo gaming is the quickest way to teach GMs the futility of fudging dice. And this is just a non sequitur. It doesn't follow. Granted, in solo play, it is far less likely to take the form of straight up dice fudging. It's more likely to be a somewhat optimistic decision regarding if a roll is needed. But the point here is the same. Fact is, dice fudging isn't about changing overall outcomes. It's about preventing extreme outliers from negatively impacting an experience just because there is only one person in the experience does not mitigate that possibility. Of course, Nerd Cognito had a far less intelligent and nuanced take. Quick tip. Never fudge dice. Never? Never. I don't expect much from Nerd Cognito. This is a show that excels at saying the same surface-level mid-wit take over and over for hours. The only thing really impressive is the sheer number of different ways they manage to say the same thing between their host pretending to be a decent human being while cranking out AI ripoffs of other people's work. This is no different. Don't fudge. Ever. Meanwhile, they vocally oppose the Bro SR and others for one true wayism. But then again, expecting Nerd Cognito to pick a side and be consistent is really asking too much. Last, and certainly not least, we leave the realm of TTRPGs and drift over to the adjacent space of BookX or BookTube. I'm just going to come out and say this loud and proud. Authors are generally my favorite artists. Why? Because they are, by and large, the most grounded. They understand it is a labor of love and that talent and the amount of work that they put in are not what dictates success and financial return or value. Nobody cares how much time and effort you put into something or how rare and unique your perspective is or how great your talent is. That's not what determines value. They're also about the only group of creatives that don't actively hate publishers as a whole. As a whole, they quietly labor away, sometimes for years, to put out a product that may never sell a dozen copies and are simply happy to have created something to share with the world. So when they do speak out as a group, it's largely with good cause. Like the simple statement of, "Hey assholes, stop stealing our stuff." Let me be clear here, folks. Piracy is theft. That's it. Downloading my game, my book, or using my art without permission and or payment is no different than breaking into my house and taking my TV. None of your excuses matter, you amoral, self-absorbed hypocrites. Why hypocrites? Because the same people I see crying about AI art programs stealing their work because theirs was one of 7 billion images that a program scanned are the same ones that are out here saying stupid shit like, why should I pay money for a PDF? It's not even a physical copy. And some people can't afford books, but they should get to read whatever they want to, too. Or my personal favorite, real artists are just happy to have someone enjoying their work and would rather you pirate it than never see it. Yeah. Listen to that tune change the second the digital character image they made in 15 minutes appears in some guy's pay what you want D&D PDF adventure. Especially if they disagree politically. I'm going to say this. There's exactly one instance where I feel modern digital piracy is somewhat excusable. If there's a game or book or some other piece of media that's been mothballed and simply not available anymore in any other way, like, say, a DOS game from a defunct publisher, that even if you could find it, only comes in 3 1/4 floppy, I'm going to give you a pass. For personal use, at least, not to sell it or distribute it. That's it. There's no pass for any other reason. Yeah, this includes the bullshit non-boycotts. When you boycott to send a message, that comes with a price. The message is, I'd really love to play your game, read your book, etc., but this is more important. I will give up my chance to enjoy your product in order to send you the message that you stepped out of line. Without that sacrifice, your message is less than meaningless. All you've said is, I'm mad at you, but not mad enough to inconvenience myself to do anything about it. It's like a Bender from Futurama. I'll make my own game with blackjack and hookers. In fact, forget the blackjack. Yeah, screw the whole thing. Anyway, that's it for this week's Drive Through Rantville. I'll see you guys next time.